Hi everyone, I'm Gary Tucker. Welcome back to Advancing with Watercolor. This week's episode, we're going to look at the Central Cafe in Vienna. We're going to start by doing a tonal study, a study in black and white, focusing on the mid-value. After doing the tonal study, we'll get into a more colorful painting, developing the color directly on the paper as opposed to painting from the palette. I think this will be inspiring to your painting, and I hope you go forward and find an interior of your own, perhaps a coffee shop. Let's get started. Well, we're picking up on our drawing as I've already started, and I'll just make a few comments in the thoughts that I had in laying out the drawing. One is focusing on those three big shapes of the windows. They're going to provide the real light that's coming into the room, as well as light that's falling on the floor, and really helps to showcase the figures sitting at the table, and especially the waiter that's standing in front of the table. So those are some of the first shapes that I begin with. I look for those three big windows. Everything else kind of is nested into those shapes, whether they be draperies or lighting or the mullions in the windows or other things that are going on within the room. And it really is an outstanding coffee house, Cafe Central in Vienna. It's when you set foot inside, you feel like you're stepping back in time, and they've been very consistent in the way that they present everything. The waiters have white linens and black vests, and the drapes and the decor is really engaging and just beautiful. And so that figures into the desire to paint this. And I had to zoom in quite a bit on my original photograph to get an image that I thought would work. So the painting process really starts before even sketching. And I cropped the image where I thought it looked good, kind of fit into a shape that I liked and allowed me to see what was going on. So I zoomed in quite a bit from the original photograph and arrived at something that I felt would be a good foundation for a painting. And as I'm putting in a few more lines, I realized a lot of this is just going to be brush strokes, and so I'm concentrating more of the drawing around the figures, around what's on the tabletop, things that are in proximity to my area of interest. And connecting the darks is part of my working thought. So a lot of these marks that I'm placing are showing me edges of the dark shapes that I plan to paint. And once I get to this point in the drawing, I'm really starting to think about what I'm going to do next with color and so forth. And you'll notice that when I start to paint this image, there's a tonal study that I'm referring to. I kind of put the photograph away and look at the black and white painting that I've rendered earlier. If you're curious on how that comes about, you can visit my website, and I've got a number of videos there. One of the videos details the creation of the tonal study, or the black and white version. And I use that as my reference as I start to create the painting. So let's move forward and start to think about what we're going to do with color. Okay, so we're ready to start our painting. Dry paper. I'm just going to add a little spray here along the top. And I'm going to be mixing yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and cobalt blue for the most part up above, but right on the paper. So for example, we could mix it on the palette, but all these colors have a pretty light hue. So I'm going to start right on the paper. Picking up some leftovers, just looking for a warm gray. Looking for this value. I'd like to get this whole upper part going at once, if I can. I believe I can. Let some of this dry brush help me out here. Keep that damp. Let's mix some blue into that. Cobalt blue. Looking for that consistency. Okay. A little more of that blue. Could be a little darker. And a little burnt sienna as well. In the corners primarily. Mixing it on the paper. Okay. Let's continue down with our warm hues. Yellow ochre, a little bit burnt sienna. The right side here. This is fine through here right now. Try to get the shape of the window the way that I like it before I move on. And now we come across the tables. Tabletops. Leaving some white spaces here. Let's carry some cobalt blue across here. And we'll have one figure, two figures, kind of rising up off of that. Oops. I want to keep that kind of light. All the way across the bottom, more blue, cobalt blue. It's a good blue to use here. Mixing that blue right into the warm hues. Trying to keep that same tonal value, same light and dark. Yeah, some chairs. I know it's a little hard to tell exactly. Watch that. Maybe that's a little more helpful there. Okay. Came a little taller, just a little bit. Now then, we can start to build in the reflections, same manner. Let's start with this yellow ochre, a little burnt sienna. Isolating this white, could be a tabletop, we're not sure. Blue here. Keep it wet, flowing. When we mix color on the page like this, it's not really going to lighten so much. So I just keep building up the reflections. Same manner, going between cobalt blue and yellow ochre, burnt sienna. Mixing right on the paper. Like so. And if we want to add any, let's put a little burnt sienna over here while it's wet. I like the pattern, so I'll keep that, the pattern of lights and darks. A little more cobalt here. Even a little bit. Nah, it's too early for that. Okay. Now we're getting a nice feel to it. At this point, I feel I want to well, add some details. At this stage, we add them, maybe the heads to our figures while they're still, well, we can still blend it. Give our figures some, this guy's leaning back. Putting a few colors, bright red there, or bright ochre, or bright sienna. Blending while the paper's wet. Let's put a little more blue here, cobalt blue. Blend it into that head area. A few details. And let's put this fellow a little reddish. Okay. I like that. Let's do the same. That bleed in. Okay. Little burnt sienna. We have a bottle here. Bottle of wine here, here. Reflections. All right. Well, now we can work on this dry paper and start to, let's add the curtains first. That we can use, well, we can start with this brighter reddish color, right across here. Want to preserve some of the underside of this very thick painterly. There we go. Well, it's there. Let's move on. Same over here. And same over here. From this we can add mullions. Again, I'm going to use a very similar tone, just a little cooler or a little grayer, but very similar to the hanging drapes. Let's try that here first. Trying for dry brush. Don't need much, do they? Same. going to take just a little blue to counter all that orangey stuff. Very light, very bright, high chroma. Alright, and how is this up here? Pretty dry, so we can start to work with our darks now. These guys are dry too. Let's start with him. Use some Payne's gray here. Very dark bluish gray. Remember, this is my darkest dark. Let's start to paint his vest. A little something on the table. Just a little spark of color. Could be any color, but we're staying with our blue and orange. Combination. Little detail there. We continue to move the dark through the painting. Keep that rhythm above all else. And a little bit same color. Let's go to more of a sequence. Let's carry some of this down via. Oh. We should just continue this sort of play here. Yeah, that's okay. Let's carry it. Do some work on those interesting columns right about here. It could be a little bit. Same over here. All right, we can extend that. A little more water. Let's see what it looks like through here. This isn't difficult. That'll do. It's a little too dark. Putting some water on it while it's still kind of wet. Just. All right, let's do another one. This one follows this. More paint. Good. Okay. Let's carry these reflections. It's a little Payne's gray, a little bit cobalt blue. Payne's gray, cobalt blue. Carry these a little. Blend them into the dry brush. Already thinking about signing it. A little darker. It needs a little more of this. And let's do the same idea, but a little more sepia. Warmer over on this side. I think this is why it's fun not to follow the color. You can invent along the way. This is where we make use of our creativity. Again, kind of vignetting this corner. Concentrating that light. And making interesting shapes along the way. A little more blue, I think, to this shadow of our figure. I do like that orangey color, but it's not quite harmonious. Just a little blending. Well, okay. A little blending over here. Don't want it too flashy. So it's pretty much dried, but there's a few parts that I'd like to adjust. There's a little too much white. And I want to concentrate the bright area through here, so leave this untouched. I might add a little color here. Definitely on the floor, definitely over here. We can use anything really, but I'm going to use kind of a little bit of that cobalt blue in the floor. Complement all this orange. Something like that. At the same time, I can kind of soften these edges. Even a little bit of through here. Same back here. Very small adjustment. But it has an impressive effect. Just a little bit of blue on the floor here. Just a bit. I think that's about enough. Just blending a little bit through here. Maybe we're going to take a little warm color, knock that back, knock that back. Put some more linear stuff. Even though this isn't here, it'll look good. Just another column. Another excuse for calligraphy. Better. Atmosphere. And another adjustment. A little bit blue here. Now, just a little golden color through here. It's just a little too bright for me. Some highlights on the figures. This white, a little distracting. Some highlights on the figures. We can also lift some. Say we want a little variation in this tablecloth to the chair. We lift a little bit. Lift a little bit. No heavy lifting. Too old for that. How about some white? Where would a good white be? Shoulders. Apron. Chair. Shoulders. Can be anywhere, really. Well, we have an option. We can sign down here or through here. Either one works. We'll put one more highlight. One more bottle. Yeah, I think it's enough. Could put a figure here. Sitting at this table if we want, but not necessary. Let's take the tape off. Have a look. Ooh, quite bright, that white of the paper, after working so many darks. Well, we'll look at it further a little later to see if we need some blue in the window in the middle. not willing to commit to that yet, but it could be nice. There we go.